Is this thing on? Good evening, beautiful people and fellow bald men. I have been putting this off for quite some time now. I finally had a good, somewhat decent Black Temple run that is currently rank 1 for overall DPS in the world. I beat the Double Glaive 5 Lust Rogue from China, which felt pretty alright. And yeah, tonight we're kind of just going to go through boss by boss, starting from beginning to end, and we'll talk about what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, maybe what you could be doing differently, and maybe my thoughts on some tips and tricks that might help you out a little bit. Now, a few things to preface with, guys. As much as I would like to believe that me getting rank 1 is all skill, all me, and this and that and the other, it's not by any means. A great portion of this game comes down to the raid that you play with, the party group you have, your boss kill times, your RNG. There are tons of factors. Now, does skill play a small part in it? For sure it does. But me being rank 1 does not make me, any better or worse than a lot of the hunters in the top 10, top 20, etc. A lot of us are doing things that are very similar, and the skill differential is probably very minimum, if not negligible. Two main things to bring up are going to be boss kill times and group comps. Okay, so we'll start with boss kill times. I am fortunate enough to be in a guild where the DPSers know how to pump damage, the healers know how to keep not only myself alive, but our hunter pets alive, and our tanks know how to pump threat to an absurd degree. Now, due to this, our boss kill times are going to be very fast. I think that bipolar has some of the fastest boss kill times in the world at this point, and that is going to be a major contributing factor to how much DPS you're going to do as a result. So there's that, okay? Now, along with that, you've got your raid and your party comp, okay? So my party comp is the best comp you can possibly have. Last week we had 2 BM Hunters, a Feral Druid, an Enhancement Shaman, and a Warrior. This is the best party comp that you can have as Hunter, bar none. If you don't have this comp, say for example you're missing a Feral Druid, you're going to do a lot less DPS. If you're missing an Enhancement Shaman, again, a lot less DPS. Fury Warrior, same deal. Now, having another Hunter is probably the least important of the of the 4, but the 3% is definitely still nice. Now, that being said, we also get 2 lusts. If you don't get 2 lusts, it's going to be hard to compete. That's going to kind of put a ceiling on you as far as your DPS is concerned. These are just things to keep in mind, guys. Don't compare yourself to the top numbers if you yourself don't have things like this. It's a little bit unreasonable to think that you can compete with the top numbers, and the top numbers have a lot of factors that come into play that are not possible for other guilds. So those are some things to take note of. Don't downplay the importance of those. And with that said, let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with High Warlord Naj'entus. So we're about to pull. This is a very simple fight. The only 2 things to be made aware of are pulling spines off of other people that are nearby you, and maybe Nightmare Seeding right before the burst comes out. If you don't Nightmare Seed, you can use Healthstone, that's fine, whatever works. So we start the fight. I drum, I run in, I Arcane Shot. One thing you guys want to do, as always, I've explained this forever. If you're running into a boss, starting with Arcane Shot is generally a really good thing to do. I send my pet in, I use Arcane Shot at the same time, and I have really good RNG on this fight. Now, one thing to take note of here, guys. On a lot of fights where I'm not going to get a second use of my CDs, I am going to wait until either Quick Shots or DST procs to use my CDs, okay? So I wait until Quick Shots comes up. Quick Shots comes up, I use my Misdirect because it's a very good, important, and moral thing to do, and then I use my CDs. So as I pause this, my Misdirect is mid-cast. Quick Shots has 9 seconds left. We get Lust at the exact same time. All these things came together for the perfect timing, okay? So this ended up being a rank 1 Naj'entus, and I got my Misdirect off as a second Quick Shots procced, as the Lust came up, as my CDs were popped. It was perfect. So I started doing a 2-1 rotation. Life's good. I throw a multi-shot in there. Quick Shots gets procced again. Kind of insane RNG so far. And it gets procced again. Even more insane RNG so far. So again, guys, as much as I'd like to say, and again, of course, as much as I want to say, like, oh, wow, I got rank 1, such skill, I mean, come on. It's not. Some of it is, for sure. I'm doing my rotation pretty well for the most part, but This is very heavily RNG. Oh, and by the way, guys, quick shots went off again right there in case you missed that. So there's that. Now the blast comes out pretty soon. I think I Nightmare Seed. I don't catch this Impale. I'm too monkey zoned. I think that our prop paladin gets it. I should have got that, guys. Don't be me right there, okay? I should have picked up that spine off of lane, but I did not. So there's that. Fortunately, I do compensate a little bit later in the fight. So I think I pop a Nightmare Seed. I get brought down to about 1% right there. I don't know if you guys missed that, but I was very, very, very low on HP. Now, last week I picked up the Boneweaver Girdle from Reliquary, which means that I have even less stamina than I did the week before. So going forward, guys, I'm probably going to use a couple stamina pieces just to ensure that I live right there. Because if I was to die right here, this entire run is scrapped. There's no way I'm hitting 2700 plus overall boss DPS. My rank 1's gone. It's a domino effect, right? You want to make sure that you do as well as you can on every single boss. And fortunately for that Nightmare Seed, I lived to continue doing DPS. I get another quick shots proc. I'm really enjoying life right now. I'm at about 3300 DPS. And yeah, we're just resuming extremely hard. Now, Spine gets popped here. I take it off Angelo. At this point in time, guys, the boss is at 15%. I'm about to hit a rank 1. I'm going to be honest with you. There are some thoughts going through my head right now. I've got a devil over here, an angel over here, and the devil's saying, dude, Enthos, listen, you're about to hit a rank 1. This warlock in front of you, don't worry about him. Let someone else take care of him. Whereas the angel on the other shoulder is like, Enthos, you're better than this. Don't be the guy that is extremely selfish and does only what he can for himself in a raid. Fortunately, the angel won out in this case, and I took the spine off. So that's that. So he dies. Life's good. Very simple fight. I ended at just over 3300 DPS, and I'm very happy about it. Even though I sigh and groan at the end of that fight. That's WoW for you. So that's Naj'entus, okay? Very simple fight. Just make sure that you stay alive on the burst. Make sure you're taking spines off other people. Otherwise, I got insane RNG, so I got a rank 1. I wish it was more complex than that, but it's really not. So right here is a bit more a chaotic fight. There are certainly more mechanics here to deal with, and if I'm going to give my brutally honest opinion, I hate Supremus with a burning passion in my heart. I hate this fight. I hate Supremus. I hate everything he stands for, and I will never like this fight in my entire life. It's kind of a fun fight, but I still hate it. So, two big things to watch for here, guys, and I'll kind of take you through it as we pull. Phase 2 is chaos, and you want to keep your pet alive at all costs. I pop drums, we go in. Life's good. I arcane shot. Now, off the bat, I'm already making one mistake, okay? My shaman's totems are over here. I am right here. I do not have shaman buffs. Fortunately, I've got the druid buff, which is more important, but I'm missing a ridiculous sum of agility right now, which is not great. A better man than I would be running up and positioning himself a little more closely to Supremus right now, which I did not do. So learn from my mistake, keep that in mind. Okay. I mess up my shots here a little bit. Lust gets popped. I wait for quick shots. Yep. CDs go out, and we're doing a 2-1. I skyrocket in DPS right now. And right now, this is looking like a really, really good boss attempt for me. Our Ret Paladin dies. No surprise. Ret Paladins are really good at doing that. And right now, I'm just watching my weapon swing timer, and I am feeling so good about life because I'm at almost 4k DPS on Supremus, which is pretty ridiculous. Now, I'm still missing shaman buffs. Not a big deal. I've got Lust fading in about 8 seconds, give or take. But overall, things are pretty good right now. Somehow my auto shot skips right there. Quick shots comes back up. Lust gets popped again. Once again, we are zooming in every way, shape, and form. And very soon, tragedy will strike. Now you might be thinking, Enthos, what kind of tragedy? Everything's so good, and Enthos, you're the speediest steam talker in the West. That was almost a tongue twister. I get charged. Now here's the thing, guys. A worse man than I would be feign deathing right now. But fortunately for all of us, I'm a very moral man, and I do what's right by everybody all the time. So I don't feign death here. It's definitely not my raid leader yelling at me to not feign death, because that would be ridiculous, and that would certainly never happen. But I don't feign death. Supremus charges me, and very soon we're going to see what happens, in which kills a lot of hunters in this fight. Threat will drop on this fight. Notice, every player's threat gets dropped, and suddenly he's targeting a very short four-legged creature named Buddy. Now, Buddy is not my pet. Buddy is another hunter's pet, and Buddy is about to eat dirt. Buddy should be getting steam tonked, or steam tonked, for the past tense version, of course, but he does not. Now, I want to get my pet back in the fight. I want to get Gregory in there, and I want Gregory to pump DPS for me. But we've got 1 Volcano, 2 Volcano, I think there's like 1 more back here. So if I throw Gregory into the fray right now, he's going to get got pretty quickly, right? Gregory will not live long to tell the tale. But we've only got 15% left, so there's a pretty compelling story. There's a pretty compelling reason for me to send my pet back in. Now, I'm going to try to keep Gregory alive here. I'm going to try going from the front, which does not work out well. Gregory gets taken down pretty quickly right here. I bring him back. I get mad at my game.
Bleeding DPS right now.
I say that I'm bleeding DPS, which is true. I was once at 3,700. I am now at 2,600. I start cursing like a very unchristian man. And my pet dies. I hate Supremus. It's business as usual, baby. And yeah, that's that. He dies. I curse the world. I curse God. I curse everything. And we move on. And that's Supremus for you. The next fight is Akama. Now, one thing to take note of, guys, Akama does not count towards your all-star ranking. Akama, though, does count towards this ranking. So, for example, if I was to pick my nose in the corner of this giant room that Akama's in, this number would be a hell of a lot lower, okay? I want this number to be as high as possible, so I'm going to try my absolute hardest on Akama, okay? So we kill this trash, let's move on. Okay, so, just real fast. 2 things. 1, I use an immolation trap on Akama here. I have used immolation trap maybe 20 times throughout all of TBC. It is an ability that does not get used much. It's good on 2 fights in Black Temple, this being one. Actually, no, 3 fights in Black Temple, this being one of them. If you're a sneaky, fox-like man, like myself, you're going to take something into consideration. Most of the raid is right here, and they're going to be focused on this one, and this one. Being the sneaky man that I am, geared towards wanting to do more DPS, I make an observation. What is that observation, you might ask? Well, I see that this channeler in the back has no one else DPSing him. I want to do a lot of DPS. I want to make sure that I get as much uptime as possible. I'm going to DPS this one by myself, and I'm going to use CDs on him. Now, there's 2 approaches to this fight. You can either use CDs on the channelers, which I do here. Probably not the best idea in hindsight. Or you can use CDs when Akama comes out. In hindsight, I should have used my CDs when Akama came out. That's okay, though. I use a haste spot. I use CDs. I'm going to try hard POS. Lust gets popped. Quick shots comes out. I am blasting extremely hard. I get the channeler all myself, and he still dies in like sub 10 seconds. Now, here's why using my CDs on Akama is probably a better idea. That channeler's dead, and there are no other mobs for me to attack right now outside of the sorcerer that actually count as DPS on this fight. Just to make sure, I believe that the only 3 mobs that count for DPS on this are the channelers, which the guys with the purple beam going towards Akama, which I melted. There's a sorcerer, which is this bad boy right in front of me, and there's Akama himself. So I have now got 4.5 seconds left of CDs to do damage to the sorcerer. Unfortunately, the sorcerer dies very fast. Did I miss uptime? A little bit. Did I miss a lot of uptime? Nah, not really. Even still, I would get full uptime if I had just waited for Akama. So, Akama comes out. It's reminiscent of High King Malgar. It's just a race to see who can do the most DPS the fastest. And yeah, I hate this fight with a burning passion in my heart. And that's about it. He dies very fast. I curse the skies as usual. And we move on with raid. So the next fight that we've got is going to be Teron Gorefiend. Teron Gorefiend is very boring mechanically, but he's very fun in the sense that you can just target dummy him, and you can pump an astronomically high amount of DPS.
Quiet? Okay, I'll have to fix
So, two things to keep in mind. First, you do not want to get hit with his cast. I would recommend downloading a weak aura, where if he is targeting you and casting his ghost form thing, whatever the hell it's called on you, you feign death immediately. The cool thing about feign deathing is you don't get the ghost. The other cool thing about feign deathing is someone else becomes the ghost, who will be very mad at you for feign deathing. That's probably the cooler part of the two, but yeah, you feign death, you continue pumping, and hopefully another DPS, maybe, for example, a Ret Paladin, gets targeted instead. And yeah, life's good. Oh, one thing, guys, I missed for Supremus, by the way. Use an Elixir of Demon Slaying. I forget that very often on that fight, and if you don't have a weak aura for remembering, get one.
3, 2, 1.
Drums gets used. Misdirect. Now, I get quick shots off the bat here, but I hold my CDs until I use Misdirect. The reason for this is everyone goes ham on this fight from the get-go, and getting your Misdirect out to not only mitigate your own threat, so you don't have to feign death, because here's the thing. Say I get targeted by his cast in 20 seconds, but say, for example, I didn't use my Misdirect, and I am competing with our tank for threat. Eventually, I've got a decision to make. I either feign death and hope I don't get targeted by his cast, or I stop doing DPS and lose uptime as a result. I'm just going to go ahead and do the right thing, which is casting Misdirect, and then I'm going to pop CDs, as you should do. Now, if I did not get a quick shots proc here, I would not be using CDs right now, but I did. I've got about 5 seconds left. I popped them regardless. That's okay. I think I get another proc here pretty soon. Alright, I am procless. I am procless. There it goes. We're back. I'm weaving in multi-shots. Life's good. I'm not cursing the skies right now. I'm peaking at about 4,500 DPS, give or take. Maybe a little bit above that. And we're off to a really good start. Now, the only thing that could possibly ruin this day for me right now is if I got casted into that feign death up. I get quick shots again. I am very skilled at the game by getting so many quick shots. I get quick shots once again. I'm vibing right now very hard, as the kids say. And for the rest of the fight, you kind of just sit there and do nothing, except for cast. I missed using another steady, or missed using another multi right there. We lost again. The rest of this fight is history. I get quick shots a lot. It's almost a rank 1, but not quite. And that's about it, guys. Before anyone comments on the shadowy constructs not getting killed, our arms warrior got the ghost debuff, except instead of becoming a ghost, he just died. So thank you, Blizzard. You guys are a very cool company who really perfects their games, especially the older ones that have been being played for 20 plus years. Actually, it's not 20 plus years. It's almost 20 years, alright. Teron Gorefiend dies. We move on with our lives, and
come on.
I end at the highest DPS in the raid, but there was one attempt that I think I got like 3,700 in the second week of this phase. So I'm not super happy because I don't parse well, but towards my overall DPS, this is pretty good. So that's him. Next fight is Reliquary. This is one of the more interesting fights in the raid, and it's that way for a couple reasons. If I can just skip ahead here. Okay. Now, if I was smart, I would cast Aspect of the Cheetah, I would run forward, and I would put an Immolation Trap down right where he spawns. I will be doing that for Phase 2 and Phase 3. I forgot to do it for Phase 1. That's okay. Not the biggest deal. He comes out. I don't misdirect here because this phase threat is determined by proximity. I pop my CDs. One thing to take note of here, guys, you want to use CDs as fast as you can in this fight because you should be able to get CD use for Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. That's going to be 3 rounds of CDs. You can only use rapid fire twice, though, in most kills. If you're in a slower guild, you might get rapid fire 3 times, but I'd be surprised if that was the case. So there's that. I'm doing a lot of DPS. I'm really enjoying my life right now. Quick shots finally comes up. This is one of very few fights where I'm not going to wait for quick shots or DST to pop CDs, just because I know I'm going to be using my CDs more than once. My shot timer gets a little bit messed up here. I go with it. I don't reset it fully. There we go. The multi-shot kind of resets it for me, and life's good. So phase 1 ends. Chris is above me because he's an absolute gamer. And yeah, that's that. This phase does not count towards our DPS, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. What you want to do during this phase is let the warriors and the feral druids get a lot of rage. That's very important. And the last thing you want to do in this phase is make sure that you have an immolation trap down at the feet of the boss. You can do a snake trap as well. I'm just an immolation guy, even though it doesn't make much sense, but it's free DPS. Do either. It's great. Now phase 2 can get a bit weird. Phase 2, you're going to want to get as close as you can to the boss by not being too close. The reason I say that is because you get pushed back as soon as your arrows land. If the closer you are, the shorter amount of time it'll take for you to shoot your arrow. It lands, you get pushed back, whereas if I'm standing, 30 yards away, the travel time is longer, and the pushback takes longer to kick in. So I'm going to stand pretty close. I'm going to not use Blood Fury here because I'm going to be doing a lot of DPS and the boss reflects damage back at you. And in order to not die, I want to get as many heals as humanly possible. So what I would recommend here, guys, is if you don't have a macro that uses all your CDs, if you're orc that is, if you don't have a macro that includes everything except for Blood Fury, I would make one for this fight. Now, if memory serves, I forgot to put a macro on for this fight, and instead what I did was I just clicked Blood Fury off. I use Misdirect here, I get a little bit closer to the boss, not too close, and we're off to the races. Now there's 2 times during this fight that I'm going to have to turn around and stop DPSing. Why do I turn around, you might ask? I turn around because there is no chance of me firing another arrow and accidentally killing myself. Whereas if I just stopped or moved left to right, my character might fire, I might die. So our healers are really good, they're keeping me alive right now. I'm dropping down, I turn around, I get 20% turn around. Good. Great. Again, wait for a full heal. Go back in. Now I use my CDs here, and I click Blood Fury off. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I knew that I had Blood Fury on this macro, so I just immediately clicked it off. Don't be like me in Classic WoW, where you're in a raid and you try to click off a buff and accidentally click off one of your better buffs. For example, maybe like your Elixir of Major Agility, maybe a scroll. Maybe if you're really unlucky, your Dire Brew Mug or Bloodless Brooch or Beast of Wrath, that would be terrible. But yeah, we're zooming, we're rocking and rolling. And I turn around once more here pretty soon. Now you might be asking, Enthos, why don't you have a Hellstone, you idiot? You could just Hellstone and not have to worry about turning around. Well guys, that's great, and I forgot to get a Hellstone for this fight, so there's your answer. So I turn around, I missed probably one steady, one auto shot. Kind of a big deal if I'm being honest, but there we go. And of course, WoW procs my quick shots as soon as the boss goes back in for another phase, and that's that. Oh, one thing I didn't comment on. Notice, guys, I trinket swapped during the intermission. You can trinket swap on this fight, which is very, very nice. You can feign death, queue up another trinket. I would recommend queuing the trinket before you feign death, and it'll swap. I don't know why I swap here. It doesn't really do anything for me, but if you want to put on maybe a passive trinket for one of the phases, or just swap entirely for whatever reason, you have the option to do so. An immolation trap down. Quick shots comes up. This is a really easy phase, guys. You just DPS, you just let it rock, and what I do here is I pop my Bloodlust Brooch with my rapid fire because I don't know if I'm going to get a full uptime out of my next Beast of Wrath. We kill the boss so fast that my haste pot and my CDs are not quite up yet, so something to keep in mind. Quick shots comes up. I'm looking good. I've got no complaints. And I think in this fight, at like maybe like a rank 7 or something like that, this number does not accurately represent the amount of DPS you do because it counts intermissions. But I in the fight did pretty well. Turning around a couple times was a pretty big loss. Don't do that. Have a health stone handy if you can, assuming you don't need a dark rune, which you shouldn't. And that's pretty much it. So moving on from that. Moving on from that, we get Bloodboil. Bloodboil is a pretty simple tank and spank as well. One thing that you can ask for to maximize your DPS is not being in the first or second group that has to go back and take the soaks. If you can be in the group 3 for taking soaks, you're going to have to run back fewer than the other 2 groups, which is nice. Outside of that, it's a very simple fight, guys. I drum, I MD, we wait to pop Lust and CDs until he feral enrages somebody. Oh wait, no, someone popped Lust on accident this week, actually. I forgot about that. So notice here, I take the soak. My arcane shot is not yet used because I know I'm going to have to move soon. And as soon as I start moving, arcane shot, reposition, continue doing my rotation otherwise. I pop CDs here. Now, under normal circumstances, guys, my guild waits until someone gets Felon Rage, but I think this week someone popped Lust on accident, and if I've got quick shots and I just took my soak, there's no reason for me to not pop CDs. I'm just going in. Fortunately, Feign Death does not resist. We're chilling. I have to run back out. Kind of unfortunate. I'm missing Lust uptime here, which is not great, but that's okay. Got DST and quick shots here. I'm going to have to move again, wasting some of that uptime. Again, not ideal. If I was in a later group, I could get more out of this in a major way. Felon Rage. This is another fight that I get insane quick shots RNG. If you guys notice this icon in the center, it keeps going off every time I get quick shots. I have it over here as well, just in case, but yeah, I didn't even notice that my uptime was this good. And I get it again, too. Unfortunately, I have to move once again for Lust. I've got Lust, quick shots up right now. We get Soak. I move back in with Arcane Shot. Not a whole lot of missed uptime, but it would be better if I did not have to move at all. Skipped an auto shot there, not great. Not a big deal either. And notice, guys, this is my CD, this is my CD. The boss is going to die too soon to get a second round, even though I popped my CDs early, so depending on your kill time, if your kill time's around like 2 minutes and 30 seconds to 2 minutes and 45 seconds, just anywhere in that general vicinity, I would use your CDs almost immediately once the fight starts so that you get a second round. Never underestimate how important these CDs are for your damage. It is a massive, massive boost if you can get 2 rounds off instead of 1. I can only get 1, that's okay. And I think the boss dies when we have 15 plus. Okay, so we got 15 seconds of Lust. Let's see how much longer we have by the time the boss ends. It might be perfect timing, but I don't think it will be. I think we missed a little bit of time. It's damn close to perfect. So we had 1 second left on Lust when the boss died. Yeah. So the only thing to do on this boss fight is hope for good RNG. Another thing to ask for is the third group to soak. That's about it. Pretty boring boss fight mechanically. Not a whole lot of tricks I can give you, unfortunately. Next one is a bit more interesting. I kind of like this fight. It's an RNG shit show for sure. You want to avoid getting bonds at all costs. And one big thing, one very big, easy thing that you can do to increase your DPS here is use rocket boots and try to use as little shadow resist as possible. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be in guilds where you're forced to use a certain amount of shadow resistance. If that's the case, I'm sorry. That sucks. Don't go against what your raid leader officers want you to do, but maybe try to convince them otherwise. If you can have a health stone or a shadow resistance potion with rocket boots, you should be pretty good for the most part. Now, whether or not your fellow raiders are good, depending on how the fatal attractions go, I don't really know. That's on a guild-to-guild, raid-to-raid basis. When we start the fight, we have one group under each statue to prevent the knockback. And if you get bonded, obviously you pop your rocket boots and run like a chicken with its head cut off. But you're pretty much just staying still, turreting, hoping that you get good RNG, And if for whatever reason a fatal bonds near you starts ticking down your your health or your pet's health, you need to either tonk or healthstone immediately. Now, one unfortunate thing with this fight, guys, is this has happened to me twice. Mother can just turn around and just whack your pet for all of its HP immediately. I don't really know how to prevent it. I've talked to quite a few people about it in hopes of finding a way to prevent it, but it's something to do with her lash, and I have not found a way to fully prevent it as of yet. If you guys know anything about that or have any recommendations, I'm all ears. Now notice here I wait for quick shots, we get lusted immediately. I'm popping my CDs when I have about 22 seconds left on my lust. Now that's waiting a long time to pop CDs here. I just had pretty bad RNG for the first, 15-20 seconds of the fight. No DST proc, no quick shots proc. The moment I get that quick shots, it's off to the races. So I pop it all. I'm doing a 2-1 here, very simple. I'm using multi-shot when I can. I'll maximize this for you guys. I keep forgetting to do that. Something gets messed up with my auto attacks here, not a big deal. But first fatal attraction. Fortunately, my pet has maximum shadow resistance, as you all should. And then my quick shots RNG just goes off the rails. It's great. Now my pet here starts taking a little bit DPS. I think that at one point I do tonk my pet, which sucks because this is a rank 1 here. But if you have to do it, you have to do it. There's really no exceptions. One thing that you could do is, if you guys are in a guild with some healers that are friendly people, you could go to one of your healers and say, hey, Mr. Healer, or Mr. You look very handsome today. I think that you're a great person. I really like you as a person, and I hope they have a great day. If you start saying these kinds of things to your healers are going to be more inclined to not only heal you, but heal your pet as well. What you want to do is compliment them to the point where they're forced to do nice things for you, like keep your pet alive on Mother Shahraz, for example. And it's a win-win. They feel good about themselves, and your pet doesn't die, and you don't die either. I'd highly recommend it. I'm sure that there are other methods too, but that's the best one I can think of off the top of my head. So get good at compliments. If you guys need recommendations for complimenting your healers, you let me know. I'll try to toss them your way for sure. But unfortunately, I did not compliment my healers last week, and as a result, I have to steam tonk my pet to keep him alive. Rest assured, guys, after last week, I'll be complimenting every healer in my guild every single week going forward. And yeah, that's that. So my pet's about half HP. He keeps ticking for about 1250. I do tonk. He might have been fine in all fairness, but I'm so paranoid about my pet dying that I did not want to risk it.
Heal pets, please. Heal pets.
I tell my raid to heal my pets right now. I bring my pet back in for a moment, and they immediately heal pets. Again, this all could have been avoided with a compliment. It's really not that difficult. At this point, guys, at this point in the fight, I'm essentially looking to the skies and praying that I don't get Fatal Attraction, because that would entirely ruin what I've got going on over here. I find myself in that position a lot in this raid, and in Hyjal as well. Hyjal even more so. Hope you don't get bad RNG. In this case, I did not. And yeah, it's great. At this point in time, this is the rank 1 Mother by, I want to say, at least 200 DPS. And if I hadn't had to tonk my pet, or if I didn't have to bring my pet back, it would be a little bit higher. But I had great quick shots uptime. I did not have to do Fatal Attractions. Overall, I was very lucky on this fight, which is nice. So that's Mother. Another great thing is my pet did not get lashed for all of his HP. Did not use my rocket boots. The only thing that I had on to mitigate Fatal Attraction was my rocket boots. I don't think I wore any shadow resistance this week at all. And if you have to replace an entire piece of gear, like a Telonicus Pendant of Mayhem, to use the Black Temple Amulet, you're going to notice a pretty steep decrease in DPS. Missing out on one entire item's worth of DPS, especially one that's a neck piece, you're going to feel it for sure. So that's Mother. If you guys have any questions, again, let me know. This is, in my opinion, the most fun fight in this raid. It's a little bit mechanically intense. It's pretty simple. Now, one thing to note here, guys, is this is one of the only AoE fights in the entire raid. One thing to benefit from here is using improved Hunter's Mark, as opposed to, whatever the talent is, Efficiency, I think it is, for reducing the cost shot of your mana, or the mana cost of your shots. What I do here is I mark the Priest. Our Survival Hunter marks the Paladin, because that's going to be our primary target. I don't know if Chris is currently IHM. I think that he was this week, if I'm not mistaken. But if you can mark 3 targets, that's more DPS for your entire raid. Now, this is great for a couple reasons. One, your pet is going to do more damage. Your melee is going to do more damage. The boss will die more quickly. Your mana is going to get a little bit sketchy at times. I'm going to just be brutally honest about that. I have mana problems basically only on this fight, sometimes Illidan a little bit, but as long as you're dark runing repeatedly and your judgment of wisdom uptime is phenomenal, you should have not a whole lot to worry about. What you might have to do is use a mana pot for your second round of pots instead of a haste pot. That's not a huge deal, but keeping improved Hunter's Mark up, at least for the start of this fight, is going to be a pretty big DPS increase for your entire raid.
2, 1.
Now my job here was to MD Varus Dark Shadow to I think our Druid, which I did. It might have been to Dardre actually, I forget. Anyway, I'm on Gathios. This is another fight, guys, where I use my CDs immediately. Why, you might ask? Well, I want to use my CDs as many times as I can this fight. The fight is a little bit above, I think, 2.5 minutes for my guild, so I definitely do get 2 rounds of CDs. But if I have to wait 20 to 30 seconds to get my first round off, I'm not getting that second round off for its full duration, so I'm just going for it right off the bat. So notice how I position myself a little bit close to the boss, but not too far away either. We kind of bring him around in a circle repeatedly, and I'm kind of standing in the center of where that circle is. So I'm hoping that with this position I don't have to move at all. One thing to take note of, guys, use multi-shot on CD during this fight. Multi-shot is something that you want to keep on cooldown without exception. Now if I was smarter, if I was a very wise man, I would enter this room, and before we pull, I'd put like an explosive trap like right around here, because eventually I think that the boss, or at least some of them, get taken towards that range, and it's a nice little boost of DPS. One thing you do want to make sure of, though, is that you're not using it during the fight, because not only is it a GCD, but it costs a ridiculous sum of mana as well. So something to keep in mind. CDs are up. I'm using multi-shot on cooldown. My DPS is great. I move a little bit to the right here. I get quick shots again. We're looking pretty good. I'm doing a 2-1 at this point, essentially, because I got DST and quick shots up at the same time. Now, the main things in this fight you want to watch for, guys, are the Consecration, the Flame Strikes, the Blizzard, etc. You want to make sure that not only you yourself are not taking damage, but you want to watch your pet's HP like your life depends upon it. If your pet is stuck in a Consecrate and your tank's not moving it for whatever reason, get him the hell out of there. Fortunately, the tanks in my raid are very, very good. They know when to move things. They help out the hunter pets a lot by doing so, because the pet AI is not great. So I don't have to worry about that a whole lot. I think that I repositioned myself personally a couple times this fight, but I don't think I need to touch my pet at all if memory serves. One other thing to take note of, guys, is I already put my Dark Rune CD far earlier in this fight. You want to use your Dark Rune as much as you can during this fight, especially if you're rocking Improved Hunter's Mark over Efficiency. You're going to notice the mana difference pretty quickly, and you want to keep this bad boy on CD. So as soon as I'm missing like 1,500 mana, I'm using this thing immediately, so that I can use it again, excuse me, as soon as possible. Alright, so moving on from that, I'm getting a little bit close here. I think that it keeps moving them around, but my positioning here is great in the sense that I don't have to move a whole lot, and if I do have to move, it's a very small distance. This is another fight where my quick shots time is just off the wall ridiculous. I keep my multi-shot on CD. I use an arcane shot there because I think that I was going to have to move for a moment, since Gathios is heading right towards me, but fortunately I did not have to do that. So the boss is just a little bit below half HP. I've got my haste pot coming up again along with CDs. Life is looking pretty good right now. And yeah, my procs are just ridiculous at the moment. Consecrate goes down. We move the guy again. Now guys, at this point in time, I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely brutally honest with you guys, because you guys deserve this level of transparency. At this point in time, Improved Hunter's Mark has fallen off my initial target. Now, a better man than I, a man with less of an ape brain than I, would put Improved Hunter's Mark back up on one of the targets. Unfortunately for us all, I am not that man. I am just trying to pump as much DPS as I possibly can. And at the loss of the raid DPS, I increase my own personal DPS by just continuing to pump DPS into Gathios. Not the morally superior move, but certainly the individual parse superior move in this case. Try not to be like me in that sense, but if you're really going for it personally and you're having a great raid night like I am this night, I might be able to like turn the other cheek at the risk of sounding like a hypocrite.
Are we second lusting?
Now our second lust gets popped a little bit late here. I ask for it because I'm getting concerned. The boss is at about 20% HP and we still haven't used it yet. I think that we did kill the boss with a little bit of time left on lust. Not a huge deal, but I think our kill time this week was just so much quicker than every other week that we've done prior to that. I lost a little bit of uptime there during CDs by not foreshadowing what was going to happen. Tank was bringing the pack to me. I should have known that that was coming, and I have to move and use an arcane shot during my CDs. Is it the end of the world? No, probably not. Am I going to miss out on a pretty decent amount of DPS as a result? Yeah, definitely. I'm going to miss at least one auto shot and one steady shot, which is not a small amount by any means. No, I don't think I have to move again here. I might. But we end the fight pretty strong. Multi-shot goes out. It always weirds me out how the boss is at 1% and still takes a while to die. Okay, so last multi-shot, get some nice crits in. Look at those fucking crits. Oh my god, I'm basically popping execute, or no, reckless into this phase. What were those crits? I didn't even notice that when I killed this.
It was very, very clean.
And then I comment that it was very, very clean. It was. That was an exceptionally
This
clean
loot
kill.
Sucks ass, dude.
Bad loot though. This entire raid night had terrible loot. That's it. You want to make sure that you're not in Consecrate or any kind of AoE spell. You want to make sure your pet is not in those either. And if your tank's having a problem moving, tell your tank to get his life together or her life together. Okay, there's no excuse. This is TBC, guys. The few mechanics that there are very simple. That goes for everything except for the Teron Gorefiend ghosts, of course, which is a very complex mechanic that even the top brains of the world cannot get their minds around. Outside of that, though, very simple. Your tank should be moving accordingly. You should be able to stand still and turret for the most part. You might have some mana issues, but again, guys, I ended the fight about 20% mana and still have a Dark Rune up that I did not need to use, so something to keep in mind. Moving on from that, we're going to go to the final boss, which is Illidan. So one thing about Illidan, your pet's probably going to die. Okay? Your pet is probably going to die unless you compliment your healers a lot or you have mastered the art of the steam tonk. Now, fortunately, I have not only mastered the art of the steam tonk, but prior to pulling Illidan, I pulled my healers into a side channel in TeamSpeak, and I called them all, you know, handsome, beautiful, morally great people who probably do a lot for their communities and are probably great people that call their grandmothers for their birthdays, their mothers for their birthdays, their extended family. Probably just really good people overall. And I think that in doing so, during phase 2 when the fire elementals came out, my pet came pretty close to dying a couple times, and he got healed, and it was beautiful. If you cannot get your pet healed, or if you are concerned that your pet is going to die during phase 2, make sure that you are either steam tonking if it's up. If it's not up, you need to be just pulling your pet back. If you need to use mend pet, that's perfectly fine. One thing that you guys should have here for sure is maxed out fire resistance and shadow resistance. Whatever the resistance set that I have in my Discord is, definitely use that to mitigate pet damage here. So we're going to pull. I have an immolation trap at the feet of Illidan here. I've got an elixir of demon slaying, which I'll need to use another one of later in this fight. We're set up here to do pretty well. It becomes active soon. This timer's a little bit off, so I pop drums early. I use Arcane Shot, set my pet in. Now, one thing I should have done differently here, guys, is I should be setting my pet up right next to Illidan for when the pull starts. My only concern is when I do that, maybe our tank misses his first attack, and as a result, my pet dies. Still kind of a bitch move on my part. You want to maximize DPS, and you got to take risks sometimes. So, there's my first quick shots. Notice, guys, again, this is a fight where I do not wait for quick shots. I want to get my CDs out as much as possible this fight. My pet starts taking DPS here. I ask the tank to move him a little bit. He does. Life's good. My pet starts getting healed up a little bit. But right now, we're zooming on DPS. We've got nothing to worry about. The fire starts affecting my pet a little bit because pet AI in this game is complete trash. And we're looking good. He goes up. We clear that phase super fast. We get in our individual groups. And this is where things start getting very, very sketchy. Not only for yourself, but for your pet especially. Okay. It comes out. I send my pet in. Now, guys, unlike Council, where tanking the phase is very easy, this is a little bit weird. Your tanks need to know what they're doing here in order to move these elementals such that your pet does not have to get pulled back or steam tanked. It's not easy. Fortunately, Sir, Dardre, and the Plots are all very good tanks that know how to do this. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that your tanks might not know how to do this effectively. If that's the case, that's okay. What you will have to do if that's the case is bring your pet back more than I would for the most part. But if you want to maybe teach your tanks how to do it better, you want to go over VODs with them, whatever the case may be, uptime for your pet here is going to be tough. And ultimately that comes down to your tanks knowing what it is that they're supposed to be doing. So let's continue. My pet starts taking damage, I want to say like halfway through. The fire comes out. This is where things get very sketchy. Alright, my pet starts taking pretty big damage. I think I steam tank. No, I bring him back first. I send him back in.
Pet's getting owned.
I want to save my tonk for when I really, really need it. I'm kind of afraid to use my steam tonk here for a number of reasons. I pull him back instead of steam tonking. Not a huge deal. Now, this guy's bathing in the fire, so I'm bringing my pet back. Chris is bringing his pet back. Actually, Chris's pet is just literally chilling in the fire extremely hard right now. Dude, look at this fucking Chad pet right here. Sorry, guys, I shouldn't be cursing during this. I finally sent my pet in. I miss a lot of uptime there. It's pretty unfortunate. Make sure that you guys also have Judgment of Wisdom up on these. I call for it here because it was not up, but my mana's looking kind of grim. I'm at 40% mana. I've already used a Dark Rune. I do have my potions back up, but I don't want to use those quite yet. Because I'm trying to save a haste spot, and I'm trying to save it for the next phase. If I use my CDs when they're off here, this thing's going to be at like 10-20% HP, and I'm going to waste most of it. So I think that in this boss fight in particular, or this pull rather, I don't use Steam Tonk once, which is beautiful. Generally speaking, I'm using it at least once or twice on this fight. So Illidan comes back down shortly. We all reposition. And if you guys want to, two things you can do here, okay? The first one is you can drum here if you'd like. I have no tinnitus. I can cast drums. Another thing I can do here is pop Elixir of Demon Slaying. I've got 2 minutes left. You will have the intermission later on in the fight where you can use it. But if you're afraid of forgetting and you've got nothing to do right now like I do, you can pop it. Now, knowing myself, I of course forget to pop it here because I'm just that guy. But I will remember to use it later. So I wait until a little bit of threads established. Arcane shot, I move in. So, first of all, what I just did there, guys, never do what I just did. Don't be in front of the boss when he comes back down. And don't be in a spot where you're going to have to like miss 4 to 5 seconds of uptime just to reposition. What I just did there was terrible gameplay, and I would urge you to never do what I just did there on any fight, no matter what.
That was bad.
And I even comment, I say that was bad, really bad. And it was. It was trash. I use MD here, I get quick shots, it's zoom in time, we pop CDs. I've got everything out except for rapid fire. I think I'm going to save that for the last phase, if memory serves. I might pop it here, actually. Yeah, I think I wait. Yeah, no, I use it. Never mind. I lied. I think I get most of it off. If not all of it. I do. Now, a better man than I would have probably saved all of his CDs to use with rapid fire there. Since we were getting so close to phasing in the intermission, I didn't want to risk it too much. I knew that popping rapid fire there was a little bit risky, but fortunately I got all the uptime in. But now, going back and looking at the VOD, I realized that I should have popped all of them in one go with one button, which I did not do. So, One mistake I made, which hopefully you guys can learn from. At this point in time, Chris is kind of farming me. He does not have tier 6 yet, and he's beaten me by about 7k DPS, which is pretty damn impressive, considering how big of a DPS increase that the tier set is. So notice here, guys, Demon Slaying, 30 seconds left. Alright, 5 minutes left. And for this, we just kind of pump the rest of the phase, and that's it. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. We just pump DPS, and that's that.
Pet's getting owned.
Now, my pet does start taking some DPS there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get another round of CDs. I'm sure a lot of you guys will, due to kill time differences, but he dies right as my CDs are about to come back up, so you should be able to get at least 3 rounds of CDs during this fight, at least. He dies, he drops terrible loot, as always. We fail to get Wargleaves, we fail to get another SSR. I think we do get a CVOS, which is kind of nice, but that's pretty much it, guys. I wish that there was more to talk about. It's not a very mechanically intensive raid for the most part. If you guys have questions about your rotation, maybe what you're doing wrong rotation-wise, anything like that, I do have other videos about that. I'm probably going to release another video here soon about kind of the state of where hunters are right now in TBC. Because we're at a weird spot. We're starting to see some like very strange things that kind of bring a lot of questions up as far as what we should be doing. I don't want to get into that right now. I'm going to leave that and kind of see how things develop before I put that out there. But yeah, guys, I hope this helped in some way, shape, or form. As always, if you guys have questions, feel free to let me know. If you guys want your logs reviewed, join my Discord. We've got a log review channel with all that good stuff. And I'm trying to think of anything else, but I think that's it. I love you guys. Hope you guys have a great week. And I will catch you next time. Adios.